Hi everybody, welcome to another video in a series of metal flake. Now this is three parts to this video series, so this is the second one. The first one we just did a base coat with the Gti Pro Lite, and it's on our little project tank I've got a tank that I do little things on that effectively just for the channel. I'm just experimenting with things really. And this one is flake. So this is my first voyage into proper flake, and by well, it's not proper flake, is it? Into bigger flake. I use small flake, which is 0.05 millimeter, which is about 0.0002 of an inch, which is effectively the same stuff as you get in metallic base coats. If you get like a base coat which is metallic, it's the same size as that. So I just put a bit extra in sometimes just to make it more metallic. But this, as you'll see, is quite different. This is a 0.015 inch flake, which is about 0.4 millimeter. So it's about 8 times bigger, or even 9 times bigger than I normally am used to using. So it's a bit of an experiment for me to see what it was like and how it performed, etc. Now the gun I'm using is the ANI F160, and those that watch the channel will know that I've recently got an F160 in part exchange, for want of a better word, for my FLG5, and I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. But another reason for using it, it's a 1.9 tip, and it's recommended. Have a look on the flake you buy, and they'll recommend a tip size, because obviously with the bigger flake, if you use too small a tip size, it will get jammed and it won't go through. So, you know, it's not like with primers and things like that. They recommend a bigger tip size, but if you don't want to or haven't got one, you can thin it down. Whereas with this, you can't. Well, you can thin the material down, but you can't obviously make the flake smaller. So you need to go for whatever tip size they say, and 1.9, as I say, this is 1.8 to 2 mil recommended, and this is 1.9, so that's ideal. Now, I didn't know quite what to expect when I first sprayed, and if you see me mucking about the gun here, I'm thinking nothing's coming out, just flake, because you can see a little bit of flakes in the air, and I obviously didn't have it quite on full fluid, and well, with this anyway, I needed full fluid straight away, because you just don't get enough of the fluid coming out of the flake. But if you've watched videos, which I have done, I've watched some videos on YouTube of people doing flake, one of the things they say is how messy it is, and you think to yourself, oh yeah, well I'm sure it's messy, but it can't be that messy. Well, take my advice, it is that messy. It goes absolutely everywhere. And I'm uploading this video just before Christmas, and it was like Christmas had come early when I did this, because you see all the little flakes on the desktop there. They went absolutely everywhere, and they're all floating in the air, and there's bits of them in the filter of the masks and all sorts of things. So do be prepared, certainly more prepared than I was. I mean, I have a dash sheet over the back, which I always do, but put some plastic film down so that you can like wrap it all up afterwards really. It does drop sorry, it does drop dry, if that makes sense. So it's not sort of, it doesn't go to everything and stick to it. It is dry when it drops, but it, you know, so you can hoover it up, but it is a pain, so do watch out for that. Anyway, there's me just backing it off, see if I can get any more fluid out, but it is literally as far as it can go. So shaking the gun up, which obviously you need to do to keep the little particles from dropping to the bottom and settling to the bottom, because they're metallic. I think they're only aluminium particles, but they're heavier, so they do drop to the bottom. So you need to keep it moving. You can see the little bits floating all in the air. It's not a noise problem with the camera, it is the bits going all over the place. So what I'm using to propel it, you can get dry flake guns, and you can get obviously normal spray guns like this. I've never used a dry, well, as I say, I've never done big flake before anyway. Sorry, just dropped the coffee. I've never done big flake before anyway. But you can get a dry gun, so you'd put a top coat or a lacquer on there, and then you'd use the dry flake gun, and it sticks to it, and then you put lacquer over the top. And when I say I mean like a few coats of each normally, but I'm doing it the wet way, so I'm using a base coat, in this case a base coat binder, which is also called an intercoat clear or a clear base coat. There's quite a few different names for what is effectively the same thing, but it's just, you know, it's just a medium of getting it onto the tank really. And you can use a well, I presume you could use a 1K clear if you wanted to. That's quite thin, that would work alright, I guess. Or you can use a 2K clear, mix it up with a hardener, and then maybe a bit of thinners if you want it a bit thinner, and put your flake in that, and do that. You will have to go over it with some layers of just clear coat afterwards, because what you'll find with these, sorry, I'm just having another cup of coffee. My throat's quite dry because this is actually the second time I've narrated this, because I made a few mistakes, so the throat gets, after a little while, the throat gets a bit too much talking, I think. But the bits of flake actually stick up quite a bit. So what you'll find is that it looks really, really uneven. So whatever you do, you're going to have to go over with a few coats, a good few coats of clear. And if you want it to look really nice and smooth, you're going to have to sand it as well. So I've obviously prepared for all that. So I'm just putting on as many coats of flake as I want to get the desired effect. And you'll see there I'm lifting up the tank and just putting a little bit here and there. And that's where you look and you can see that you obviously haven't got quite enough. Obviously it depends how much you want as to how much goes on there. But if you want it even, which I did, then you need to just check parts of the tank, make sure you've got good lighting, check the parts of the tank that you're doing, and if there's any that look a little bit scarce on flake, then you can just add to it and just keep adding to it. Now it's quite chilly today. It's about 9 degrees, which is about 9 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 Fahrenheit. And you can see that it's all going on fine, but I am using the heat gun in between, and because it's a base coat binder and not a clear coat, I get the heat gun on more or less straight away to get some heat in the tank and to help it dry, because otherwise I would be, well, you see the gun now, otherwise I'd be there forever, because the stuff just doesn't want to dry that much. So we're coming to the clear coat now, using the Gti Pro Lite TE20 cap, because that does tend to pump it on more, and I do need quite a lot on. I think I've got about 3 coats on film, but I put about 5 coats on in the end, because this stuff is so bumpy. When you look at it on the camera, it actually doesn't, it looks reasonably smooth, but if you like run your hand across it, it's like crazy paving. It really is not smooth at all. So do be careful about how much you're putting on, but if you do get runs and things like that, as I say, it's not the end of the world, because you're going to sand it anyway. And if that's the method you're using, which is advisable really, because as I say, it doesn't give a very good finish otherwise. If you are going to sand it otherwise, you can pump the clear on. So Gti Pro Lite with a TE20 cap, a 1.4 tip. This is 2K clear, and I would recommend 2K clear because A, it's normally thicker. This is a high solids clear, but even a medium solids even a medium solids 2K is thicker than a 1K normal clear coat. So you would need loads of coats of 1K. It's not as durable. So even with the various safety issues that are involved with a 2K, I would recommend using a 2K rather than 1K for this process, simply because it makes it harder wearing, or make it quicker for you to get it done, and it'll be much easier to sand. So as I say, I think I've done about 3 coats on film, with the drying process in between. But I did do about 5 coats altogether, so that I knew that when I sanded it down, I would have, you know, plenty to sand down without going into the flake. Because if the flake goes at certain angles and then you sand the edge off it, you can get a slightly different colour. And I guess it's because it's, I don't know how they make the actual flake, whether it's anodised or what it's done to it, but it is a slightly different colour when you sand it down, and those little bits can stick out like a sore thumb. So it's best to put plenty of clear coat on there so that you can sand it down so it's nice and flat. And then we've actually done the final video is with a WS400. No, it's not, it's with a W400 Iwata, which gives a really good finish. So, and we've got some pictures of it in the sunshine and things like that as well. So it comes out quite well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway, and thanks to everybody who's subscribed and that, it is appreciated. And just go careful out there, and as I say, this is going up there just before Christmas. Hope everybody has a good, safe Christmas, and no doubt I'll keep videos coming in the new year, but look out for the second one anyway. Thanks for watching everybody, cheers, take care, bye bye.